Hello, and welcome to the benefits of operationalizing containers, microservices, and DevOps to modernize application delivery. Today's webinar is sponsored by Red Hat and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this fast-paced session. First off, I want to call your attention to the Q&A panel. That's the place to say hello, which a lot of you have done already. It's also the place to let us know in the unlikely event that you're experiencing any technical difficulties. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, and slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know there in the Q&A and we'll provide technical assistance. We won't have a dedicated Q&A after this session, but if you do have any questions for Red Hat, enter them into the Q&A console and we'll make sure the team sees them. Second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. Much of the presentation today is sourced from a Forrester study on the total economic impact of Red Hat services and support for OpenShift. You can get the data that's being covered as well as more detail right from your handouts console by downloading the study itself. So I highly recommend grabbing that PDF of the study now. Also in the handout section are PDFs from Red Hat about reasons to engage with Red Hat services and an infographic on OpenShift. Great stuff in there today. Again, I encourage you to access all those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for that prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. And with that, let's get to today's informative discussion. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. We have Trey Seck, who's Vice President of Global Customer Success and Renewals at Red Hat. And we have Sam Conway, who's Principal Consultant for the Total Economic Impact Practice at Forrester Research. So I'm going to turn things over to Trey to get us started.
Everyone, my name is Trey Seck, and I am the Vice President of Red Hat's Global Customer Success function. And we've also got a guest speaker from Forrester joining us today, Sam Conway.
Hi, Trey. My name is Sam Conway. I'm a Principal Consultant here on Forrester's TEI team, helping organizations quantify and articulate the business value of their services and solutions. So just a quick agenda for today. We are going to start with an explanation of the TI methodology, and then we'll dig a little bit more into the customer stories and detailed results from the study we conducted with. But before I get to that presentation, I just want to ensure the audience is aware of the following disclosures here. All right, so what is TI? TI goes beyond TCO and ROI to understand the total business value a service or solution provides an organization. We do this by looking at traditional metrics like cost savings, user efficiency, and business effectiveness, but we weight it based on risk, scalability, and flexibility. This brings us to the core components of the TI methodology. So first we have the benefits, which are the business advantages an organization gains by implementing a service or solution. Then we have the costs, which can be direct, such as fees paid for a service or solution, and indirect, such as internal costs for training or implementation. We also try when possible to measure what we call flexibility, and this is not explicitly what customers are currently experiencing, but the possibilities that they unlock in the future by making an investment today. Finally, we risk adjust all these categories to create a conservative and realistic view of what a potential customer may experience. And together, these elements combined make up what we call the total economic impact. So Forrester's approach to evaluating the impact of Red Hat services or solutions for OpenShift took a multi-stage approach. We started with our due diligence, which was harnessing the knowledge of Forrester's analysts and research to understand the product market, as well as interviewing key stakeholders at Red Hat to understand the broader product strategy and vision. We then did data collection. So this was interviewing 6 Red Hat customers to understand their use cases and outcomes, and surveying an additional 163 IT decision makers using Red Hat OpenShift. We created a composite organization based on that information, which represents the typical or average experience of customers we interview. And then we create a financial model and case study around the composite organization's deployment. So for the customer interviews, we conducted those 6 customer interviews with the different representatives from organizations. And you can see they spanned a wide range of industries. We had the government agencies, financial services firms, healthcare, global marketing and technology across a number of different geographies. And then in addition to those customer interviews, we surveyed 163 IT decision makers at firms using Red Hat OpenShift. And the respondents, again, came from a variety of industries, geographies, and e-sizes. Trey, I was impressed by the amount of firms that were using Red Hat OpenShift. Can you talk to me a little bit more about your approach to working with so many different customers across different industries?
I think really we're very fortunate, quite frankly, to have the opportunity to work across multiple industries. And it really comes down to flexibility. Our goal as an organization is to become the most widely used platform that customers build their hybrid cloud solutions upon. So, we work, from very, very large enterprise customers to, very small yet fast growing organizations as well. So we're fortunate, and we understand that one size doesn't fit all. So, we've really worked hard to establish a framework and a methodology, and then we often tailor that approach toward obviously the customer's vertical, their domain, and ultimately what they're trying to accomplish with their hybrid cloud solution.
Great. And it's funny, we interviewed and surveyed a number of different organizations, but we did find a very common set of prior challenges amongst them. So while those specific use cases within the organizations varied for the Red Hat services and support, we did find that often they were trying to replace legacy solutions that required intensive maintenance and management. They might have had a lack of common standards and practices across the organization, which led to inefficient practices, or they had ultimately failed internal containerization and modernization projects, either for those reasons listed or others. So I touched on some of those pain points that we heard from our survey respondents and our interviewees. But I'm curious, Trey, are there any other common themes that you've seen, with the customers that you're working with?
That's actually a really good question. I think oftentimes it comes down to start from the beginning. So, the containerization is obviously, an exceptional capability that allows agility, speed and time to market and all of that. But if you don't start from the beginning, it's really difficult to end up with a solution that actually works. So, we have an approach to really understand where a customer is in their journey. We've got a framework that we apply to say, do you have infrastructure as a code, for example? Because if you don't have infrastructure as a code as a capability, it's really difficult to get to a fully functioning, containerized approach within your IT and your development environment. So we really try and focus on, let's start from the beginning and understand where you are.
Great. And, I think that segues nicely into, the objectives that people were trying to solve and why they ultimately landed on Red Hat and OpenShift. So, to remedy those various pain points, the interviewees were looking for solutions that could automate manual application development, automate compliance governing and reporting, bring new ideas to market quickly through faster releases, and to standardize internal tools set and practices within the organization. So as I mentioned before, based on the survey respondents and interviewees, we developed a composite organization for this study. This is for the financial framework, and it's representative of those customers that we interviewed. So for the composite organization, it's a B2B firm with global operations. Prior to working with Red Hat, the organization attempted to undertake containerization efforts with a variety of siloed tools. The organization has an existing portfolio of 500 legacy applications with 50 new applications built annually. 10 to 75% of those new applications are built with containers, and 5 to 50% of the legacy portfolio is modernized annually over the 3-year analysis. Now, based on that composite organization, we made a 3-year financial model, and we quantified 6 different benefit categories. Now, this chart shows the 3-year NPV of those various benefits, and we use a 10% discount rate to calculate the NPV. But as you can see, the organization found savings in planning, design, and documentation. There was infrastructure provisioning time savings, a reduction in initial application development, testing, and deployment time, a savings in application updates, management, and maintenance. There were infrastructure utilization efficiencies recognized by the organization, and also help desk cost savings. And digging a little bit more into those individual benefit categories. So first we had the planning, design, and documentation savings. So the organizations that we spoke to were leveraging Red Hat Consulting to reduce the initial requirements for gathering, planning, designing, and documentation, that phase of the software application lifecycle. And we found that they reduced that by an average of 10 weeks. Amongst the organizations that we surveyed, 87% of respondents said that they agreed or strongly agreed that working with Red Hat Consulting helped their firm modernize applications more quickly than they could have on their own. Additionally, 82% of those respondents said that they agreed or strongly agreed that Red Hat Consulting helped improve collaboration for DevOps software delivery. So some of these organizations have a lot of technical debt, and it can sometimes be hard to even know where to start or what to do with their current application portfolio to realize the results that we've been discussing. What does Red Hat recommend in those types of similar situations, Trey?
Again, good question. Kind of dovetails in with what we talked about earlier, which is start from the beginning. But we've developed a framework, and it's based on something we call the Open Practice Library. So as an enterprise software company with an open source development model, we've used a lot of the principles of open source software development and applied that to building a series of methodologies and frameworks that we use with customers to really deeply understand where they are and acutely understand what their pain points are, but also in the context of what is it actually going to mean for their customers? Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish for your customers? Is it cost savings? Is it time to market? Is it, uptime? There's a number of metrics that are used, but we have a practice that we use at the beginning called impact mapping. Sounds pretty simple, but it's really starting from the why. Why are we doing this? Again, what is sort of identifies who the actors are, because what we start to uncover is there's a lot of different actors or individuals or organizations within a customer that have to coexist and operate together to drive that outcome. And then we derive a series of the how, and that the how ultimately becomes how we approach the project and how we break up the units of work. So customers come to us with a multitude of pain points, but we really try and distill that down using our open practice library, things like impact mapping, and start from the beginning with a discovery session, which is a very widely used practice to get people to start talking to each other and understanding the real pain points. So those two practices have become really widely used across our consulting engagements.
And the next benefit we had was the reduction in initial application development, testing, and deployment. So the interviewees said that their organizations worked with Red Hat Consulting to learn and adopt best practices to modernize and streamline application delivery by using Red Hat OpenShift, containers, and microservices. By adopting modern tools and DevOps processes, these organizations broke free of manual processes and aligned stakeholders to accelerate the time to market for applications in their organization's pipelines. The Composite Organization sees a 15 to 20% improvement in application development and testing due to Red Hat. And over a 3-year period, the present value of this time savings is $12.5 million. The next benefit we have was the application update management and maintenance savings. So the interviewees we spoke with said that their application delivery benefits extended beyond the initial build into the application development life cycles. The adoption of Red Hat OpenShift and partnerships with Red Hat Consulting aided those organizations in accelerating the time to market for new product features, updates, patches, and bug fixes. Harnessing the capability of containers to separate applications into granular microservices, the organizations accelerated release cycles by packaging, testing, and deploying components separately. There are also a number of benefits included in the study that weren't quantified or included in the financial model. And so these included the improved customer and employee satisfaction and improved software quality and reduced vulnerabilities. And I know we've focused a lot on the technology aspect, but Trey, let's focus a little bit on the people aspect here because that's what we just touched on. And we see the improved customer and employee satisfaction. How does Red Hat focus on the people and on the culture?
It's really interesting how we've evolved. As an enterprise software company, we realized pretty early on, particularly with OpenShift, that oftentimes the impediments to success or consumption or utilization of the platform isn't around the technology itself. It's actually around people, process, and culture. And oftentimes we discover with customers that, a simple example, their IT operations team and their app dev team aren't really communicating all that effectively. There's a lot of ways of working that have to change, and we've developed expertise on that. And one of our approaches that works really well is we work alongside with customers. We don't do it for them per se, but we really aspire to work with them and side by side, so that there's that handoff, and so that we can actually show them a different way of working, so that they can go then proliferate that across the organization. So while we spend a reasonable amount of time on the technology, we really focus on how customers can mobilize their teams and effective change management. A lot of it is just executing a really robust change management program across the customer. And when we do that effectively, we start seeing just absolute proliferation of the platform itself, and delightful customers, and app dev teams who are demanding that they can develop their applications on OpenShift, which is great for the customer and it's great for Red Hat.
Great. And so we wouldn't be able to calculate an ROI without costs. And there was 4 categories of costs for the composite organization. These included the Red Hat fees that the organization incurred, the implementation costs of Red Hat OpenShift, training costs for the firms, and then finally the costs associated with ongoing operations and administrative costs. And as a refresher, we also have flexibility and risks. So flexibility, once again, is that ability to engage in future initiatives for additional benefits. And for Red Hat services for OpenShift, we found that this included building or refactoring a large portion of your applications and engaging Red Hat OpenShift cloud services for additional savings within a firm. When we were considering risks, the risks factors that we looked at were the existing application dependencies and infrastructure utilization rates within a firm, the size and complexity of the organization's existing infrastructure, the availability of the skill sets within an internal organization, and then finally the legacy platform state and the related support costs within a firm. So after looking at those benefits and costs, once again, we created a 3-year financial model for the composite organization. And at the net present value, using a 10% discount rate, we had an ROI of 703%, an NPV of $39.1 million, and a payback period of just under 6 months for the composite organization.
Awesome. Sam, I just want to thank you so much for not only joining us today, but for taking our customers through this analysis and really helping articulate in real terms what value they can potentially derive from working with Red Hat services. So I really appreciate the time today.
My pleasure, Trey. And I would encourage all listeners to go read the report for themselves. There's a nice financial framework where you can put in some of your own numbers to see how this might look for your organization. And there were a couple of benefits that we didn't have time to dig into. So there's additional benefit details within the study itself.
Thanks, Sam. And just in summary here, to our customers, your story is our story. We are absolutely committed to helping you get the most out of your investment, to helping you delight your customers, and continue building great relationships. And as Sam mentioned, I encourage everybody to scan the QR code. There's a wealth of information in the report. You can learn more about the value of Red Hat services and support for OpenShift. And I just want to thank you all for joining, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, great stuff, Trey and Sam. Well, that 700% ROI, that's a great number. Lots of valuable information here. And if you did miss that QR code, again, that same report is available in your handout section along with a couple of other items. And I did want to remind you about those handouts because we're down to the last few moments of this webinar. So if you're interested in the data that Sam was presenting from Forrester, be sure to download that study before we wrap up here. And as promised, we have one final piece of business. That's the $300 Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the $300 Amazon gift card today is Ricky Fishley from Texas. So congratulations to Ricky. We'll be in touch about getting you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I just want to thank Red Hat for making this event possible. And thanks, as always, for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.